Hey, gamer friends, I'm Danielle,
And I'm Josiah.
and we are ready
Ready
to
to roll.
roll.
So it's Christmas time, and we wanted to talk about games that you can play at Christmas. Games that you can play with multiple people, like
Lots of people,
lots of
yeah,
people. Games that are maybe easier to digest and learn,
definitely.
but still really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, so when I was looking at the list, I was thinking like, what are those like kind of mass market appeal type games? Games that yeah, are just really easy for people to jump in and yeah, you don't need to spend a whole long time explaining how to play the game.
Yeah, but they need to be at a player count higher than most of our other games that are 2 to 5.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
we do a thing with my family
Hmm.
for Christmas where we rent out a cabin, and there will be 20 to 30 of us
Yeah.
there, and so we love playing games as a family. So we wanted to come up with some games that maybe we can play with them, and thought maybe you guys would get a lot of value out of that.
Yeah, definitely. So this is a very different list than what we would normally do, but we wanted to kind of show you some different things that we play at our family Christmas. So before we do that, we have a couple of like honorable mentions. And the reason these are honorable mentions is because they actually have a lower player count, but they do have a broad appeal.
Yes.
And so if you were like just had a smaller group that you just kind of wanted to introduce maybe your family into a game, I think these would be really good.
Well, we actually do this some at my family's Christmas. Is
We do.
we'll have a 4 or 5 people break off and play a game
Hmm.
on the side, and so these will be great games for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first one on that list is Marvel United. It's just the base game of Marvel United.
Yeah. So basically, you're just building out a comic strip essentially as you play the game, and it has cute artwork and
Yes.
cute little minis, and
Yes.
pretty easy to play and understand. And
Yeah, and
so,
Marvel is something that lots of
oh
people
yeah,
like, or they at least are familiar with the characters and stuff. So that's something that's really easy for
yeah,
people to jump into.
definitely
The second one is Quacks of Quedlinburg. It's kind of the same idea,
love
but
this game.
easy for people to jump into.
Yeah, it is actually probably would be a really good game to introduce people to certain things like bag building
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So it's a push
Yes.
your luck game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's real fun, easy to
Actually,
learn.
every single person that we have ever introduced this game to has loved it.
Yes, yeah,
So I think that that just says something like it has just this broad appeal.
it does. It's really popular.
But again, not as many players.
Right.
So for our main list, we wanted to stick to ones that had a really large player count. So I thought I'd start with like two party games. The first one that I thought of was Just One. Just One, you have a wipe off board and everybody has one. I think it plays up to like 8 players. And you're trying to give a clue. Somebody's going to have to guess the word. And you're giving a clue to that word, but if you match somebody else's,
It doesn't count.
it doesn't count. So it gets taken away. And so they only get the clues that are like unique clues to that word. And then they're trying to guess. And that works for lots of different people, lots of
Yeah.
fun.
There's some strategy in that, and some thinking of
Mm-hmm.
how do I give a good enough clue, but not a clue that somebody else is going to give. And
Yes.
so, yeah, really fun.
Yes. And then the second one, the second party game that I was going to talk about is Green Team Wins. And we actually just bought the holiday expansion.
Yeah, Holland.
Yeah, because we thought that would be really fun. And okay, so I had this idea. This year for Christmas, I actually bought like a stack of wipe off boards, like whiteboards, and I think there's like 20 in there. And I want to create an epic Green Team Wins game with like the entire family. So I'm gonna see if I can get it to work. Um, the way Green Team Wins plays is it's going to give you a clue. So it might have like a fill in the blank, like something bells, like,
Right.
and so you might automatically think jingle bells. And if everybody thinks jingle bells, if you're on the team it's kind of the opposite of Just One.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to have the common
Right.
word. and then you're on the green team. And if not, you're put on the orange team. But don't worry, you can get back on the green team.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so it's almost exactly the opposite of Just One.
But I thought that would be such a fun game to try and play with like a ton of people. Yeah. So we're gonna try it out and see how it does.
I think it's gonna go well.
I do too. Okay, the next on my list is this one is one that we have played with his family a ton, and it is Werewolf, or Ultimate Werewolf, it's sometimes called. So
yeah, it's kind of a variation or a spin-off of a game called Mafia.
Oh yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. But so it's really fun. It has different characters that are introduced. There's villagers, and then there's werewolves, and then there's different kind of special characters that do certain things. And it's a social deduction game where you're trying to, as a villager, you're trying to find out who are the werewolves. And as a werewolf, you're trying to murder everybody.
And not let them find out that you are a werewolf.
That's
you're
right.
trying to fit in as a villager.
Yeah. And so this game has some history and a little baggage with my family. So there's a current debate going on in my family whether or not we're going to retire Werewolf or not. We've played it over the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 Christmases or something to that effect. And it keeps getting more and more and more intense as we go.
Progressively crazy.
Yeah, there's we've had a couple of werewolf games that have lasted 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Which, if you know werewolf, is absurd.
Yes, he's not joking.
And and it's mainly a few people in the family, I'm one of them, who want to distill down information and talk out the information that's given until I can know for sure I know who the werewolf is.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it's out of hand, and I'm trying to curb that and fix it so that everybody can have a good time. And so anyway, it's a great game as long as you
play it the way that it's designed to be played.
Play it the way it's designed to be played.
But what is great about Werewolf, I will say, is you could literally play it with like 90 people. I mean, you can just play with so many people.
Yeah.
I mean, it would get chaotic, but you can play it with a lot of people. If maybe you wanted something a little calmer, a little less intense with less people, more restrained.
More tactile.
I do love Deception Murder in Hong Kong. It's the same kind of idea, but everybody has a few cards in front of them, and someone is the murderer, and you're trying to figure out who is the murderer based on clues and looking at the pictures of the cards that are in front of each person.
Right.
And so it's just a little bit calmer. Everybody's around a table, but it gives you that same like social deduction kind of feel.
Yeah.
And it's really fun.
You can't. There's a limited player count. 8 or
maybe 8,
9 or something.
6 to 8. I don't know.
8, something like that. But it's like more there's cards. There's, like she said, there's a board. There's all kinds of stuff out there that you can visually see. Versus in Mafia, it's all sort of theater of the mind. Werewolf is all sort of theater of the mind.
Yes.
So a very different in that respect, but very similar in the social deduction aspect of it.
Yes, for sure. Another one I thought of for this list is called Mind the Gap. This isn't like a super popular game, but the reason I picked Mind the Gap is because, when we spend time with my family, my grandparents are in their 90s and they will still play game with us if they can. And so I try and think of something that like my 90-year-old grandparents can play, and also my kids or teenagers can play. And so Mind the Gap is one of those that you can literally have someone from each generation on a team, and it makes it better. You can kind of figure it out. Now, some of the questions I will say are really hard.
Yeah, it's basically a trivia game.
Yes.
Based, and each of the questions is based in a certain decade.
Yes.
So it's a great game to play across multiple generations, and especially if you have multiple generations on a team.
Yes.
So that you can kind of cover.
You need a Gen Zer, a millennial, an X, baby boomer, and you need them all on the same team so you can figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
But that's a fun one, I think.
It is fun.
Okay. The next on my list is a little bit similar to the social deduction, but it takes it in a slightly different direction. It's called the chameleon. The chameleon is basically there's some secret information that the chameleon does not know, and everybody else at the table does, and they're giving a clue about the secret information. Each person goes around and says a word, but the chameleon has to try and blend in and not let you find out that they are the chameleon.
That they don't know what the secret word is.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a card that has, I don't know, 10 or 12 words on it or something to that effect. And everybody else knows exactly what word it is, but the chameleon doesn't.
That's right.
But no one knows who the chameleon is, like she said. And so it's a fun game and kind of a tricky game sometimes if you're the chameleon to not let anybody know that you don't know what that word is.
And you have to give a clue as the chameleon.
You have to give a clue just like everybody else is giving a clue. And you're trying to base as a chameleon your guess off of everybody else's. So you better hope you don't go first.
That's right.
Or you might be up a creek.
Yeah, you're just not going to win. But it's very quick. It is a very quick game. You can play it with lots of people. Fun, lots of ages, that kind of thing. So. Okay, another one I had, and I put this on here because I specifically played it with some of the younger members of our family. I played Hues and Cues. It's a board and it has lots of different colors. It's a color palette on it, and you're giving clues trying to get people to guess the exact color. What I liked about this is we played it with our 8-year-old niece. And she was able to give great clues. She was able to figure out exactly what we were doing and play the game really, really well. And then we played it also with our 5-year-old niece. And she, of course, we had to modify it just slightly for her.
Sure.
But she was still able to really play the game and felt like she was really a part of, the big people games and stuff. And so that made her feel really good.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to put that on the list this time because, she just enjoyed it so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. What else do we have here? Ready, Set, Bet. Yeah.
Great game with the right people.
Yes. Okay. So most party games, it's definitely dependent on the group for sure.
Yeah.
And Ready, Set, Bet, I feel like is very dependent on the group.
Yeah. It's definitely chief, I would say, among all party games dependent on group.
Yes. Because we played it with a few different groups, and if they're like fuddy-duddies, it's not going to be fun.
It's not.
It's
super boring at that point.
Yes.
But if you have
people who are into it.
Yeah, if you have a group of people who are really going to get into it and have a lot of fun and be loud and participate in the gambling aspect of it, it is a banger.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
It's a really fun game.
I got to be the one so somebody controls the horse race itself. And
the game master.
The game master, yeah. And that was really fun. I really enjoyed getting to roll the dice and move the horses and stuff. So anyway, it's a really good one. Lots of players, can be ruckus and exciting, but also if it's the wrong people, it can kind of fall flat.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind.
Yep.
I also put one on here. I put the Blockbuster game, and that game you can get literally anywhere. But basically, I played it with a group of friends last year at Christmas time, and it was really fun because it's all about movies. And lots of people have seen movies. Lots of people know lots about movies. And so, one of our questions was you had to name end of the world movies. And you go back and forth. So one person on each team, and they have to go back and forth, and you have 30 seconds or a minute between the teams to see how many you can name back and forth. And so anyway, it does that. There's a part where you act out, have charades. There's a part, I think you give a 1-word clue and somebody has to guess the movie. Anyway, it was actually a lot of fun. We had a really good time with it. So I wanted to include that on the Christmas list.
Yeah, that's not one I've played.
Yeah. And then I have another game, and it's kind of a cheat. I will say that, because you just need a deck of cards. But each person playing needs a deck of cards, and that's Nerds.
Hate this game.
He hates it. I had to put it, though, because our oldest daughter loves this game.
I will say that people who like the game love it.
Yeah.
and it is a lot of fun. It can get chaotic and
Yes.
ruckus like that.
Yeah.
But I just do not. That's not for me. It's not a game for me.
Yeah. So as long as you have a deck of cards that's different than everybody else's, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. So our oldest daughter actually had a
nerd
set of cards that
Mhm.
each one was a different color.
Yes.
And it actually is really nice
It
to
is.
have if you play the nerds.
It is. But you can play with a ton of people, and the more people, the more chaotic and fun it is, and the faster it seems to go. So you're just playing out cards and it goes really fast. In fact, I'm pretty sure I cannot play that game sitting down. I have
Yeah.
to stand up to play it. It's like because you're just like over the table and trying to play anyway. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a cheat because it's just a deck of cards, but it's specific to the decks. Okay, and then last but definitely not least, I have on the list is Codenames.
Great
Most
game.
everybody has played Codenames, but it's just the perfect Christmas game.
It is.
It is.
You can group up, have different groups, and you give clues, and you're trying to figure out you're trying to have your team figure out where your cards are, your colored cards are, and
yeah. So I might be like, animal 3, thinking, oh, there's 3 animal cards out here. They're going to get them, and forget that there's actually 4 animal cards out there. And I'm like, oh, don't pick that one. It makes that stress.
It's the black card, and if you get it, you lose.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's a fun game. There's some strategy and some thinking in it, but pretty easy overall.
Absolutely.
And fun for a lot of people to play.
Yeah. And you can make your teams as big as you want. And, you can just, it's a lot of fun. But anyway, that is our list of games that we take to Christmas. We'd love to know your favorite game to play at the holidays. Put it in the comments below. Or tell us, like, that's a terrible game. Why would you ever suggest that? You can tell us that too.
Or if you have any crazy stories from your Christmas playing games, we'd love to hear about those.
Yeah, definitely. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.